Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, How to Think More Strategically About Your Business. That's presented by Stacy McConnell. Stacy's our presenter today, and she's a certified professional coach, master practitioner of energy leadership, and founder of Powerhouse Business and Executive Coaching. With more than 20 years of experience in various leadership roles in business, human resources, frontline, middle and executive management, Stacy helps solopreneurs, small business owners, and executives be more strategic in their businesses and in leadership so that they can maximize performance, boost productivity, and increase profits for sustainable business growth. I've muted everyone's microphone for now. However, if you have any questions or issues during the webinar, please use the chat window at the bottom of the screen, and I'll reopen the mics at the end of the webinar for questions and for the bonus feature. So on that note, here is Stacy.
Hi, Alan. Thank you so much. I'm very glad to be here and to be presenting how to think more strategically about your business. And with that, I'm just going to share my screen and then introduce myself a little bit, tell you a little bit about my background, and then jump right into the material. So, second, here we go. Okay, can you still hear me?
Sorry, I muted myself. Yes, I can.
Okay. See, I'm sharing my screen here. My mouse seemed to have disappeared. There we go.
Perfect.
Okay. I'm trying, oh, there we go. So just a little bit about me. I am a former executive. I was an executive vice president in the financial industry. And I was offered the CEO position, and that ultimately fell through because the CEO that I was replacing, and I'd been in the succession of it for the last 5 years before that, leading up to that. And what happened was he decided that he wasn't going to move, and so and he was actually going to retire there. And so at that point, I decided that I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit, and I thought maybe now is a good time to reevaluate and look at where I want to take my career in the next direction. And so, I'm using all of my 20 years of experience. I've been in human resources, operations, and then I had some frontline supervisory positions before I went into human resources, and then I went into operations.
Oh no, I think we're having an issue here. Stacy, can you still hear me?
Invest a lot of time and money into strategic planning, the execution was horrendous. And when it comes to small business owners and solopreneurs, the challenges are a little bit different, because what happens there is that we just end up not thinking strategically enough about business, and I'm going to jump into that. So after I left that position, I turned my life upside down, inside out. I packed up my things. I sold my house, and then moved into a new state and pretty much started all over. And then I enrolled in formal coaching school, and it's one of the best coaching schools in the world. And so I did that, became certified, and then launched my coaching practice. And since then, I've been helping executives and small business owners with leadership development and helping them to be more strategic. And so with that, I'm going to go through. I'm going to turn off my camera so that I can just kind of go through the slides without any distraction here. Oops. My mouse here is not working that great.
Yeah, I had a little technical glitch on my end just a few minutes ago too.
Can you turn it off from your side, Alan?
Yeah, let me, let's just see here. There we go.
Okay. And you can still see my slides?
Yes.
Perfect. So as I work with my business clients, the real challenge I see for small business owners and solopreneurs is being more strategic in their business. It doesn't matter if you're a solopreneur, have an MLM business, or run a small business with employees or no employees. Strategic thinking is one of the most neglected business practices because it's easy to get caught up working in your business instead of on your business. And that's totally understandable because in small businesses or as a solopreneur, you're the CEO, the CFO, the CEO, the COO, business development officer, and secretary. So hopefully by the end of this webinar, you'll have a better understanding how to step back from the day-to-day operations and take a strategic approach to your business. And so we're going to go through what strategic thinking is, why it's so important to your business, the signs that you need to be more strategic, and then the 5 strategic thinking concepts and practices that will help you to be more future focused and more proactive, and also to make better business decisions. Strategy is often related to a game of chess. To be successful at chess, you look at the entire board as you review the positioning of all the pieces, yours and your opponent's. You then consider possible moves and anticipate your opponent's next move in response to your potential move. That's strategic thinking in a game of chess. In some cases, you just make the next move without much strategy behind it, and it might work out okay because it may not cost you the game. The problem is, though, is perhaps if you had been more strategic, you could have knocked your opponent out of the game sooner. Well, that's the same with business. Without strategic thinking, perhaps you keep your head above water, but you can ask yourself this question: could my business have grown and become even more successful if we'd organized a little better? Studies indicate that roughly 90% of all businesses lack a strategic plan, which we'll talk a little bit more about later. Of those that do have a plan, only 10% actually implement it. It's no wonder the rate of failed businesses is so high. Sustainable success and longevity of your business requires that you think strategically, which is why it's so important and why I'm so passionate about it, because I saw this for myself, as I mentioned earlier, when in or in executive management, the execution was poor. It was poor. So strategic thinking is an ongoing set of principles and practices that become habit and a natural way of thinking about your business, and it's also an organized decision-making process that ensures sustainable success of life and of your business. Here's some signs that you need. Here's some signs you need to, if you think that you need to be more strategic, or signs that you need to think more strategically. When you're not able to articulate where your business will be in 1 year, let alone 3 years. And I'm often surprised that when I ask my business clients, where do you see yourself in a year? They often don't have an answer to that. You don't solicit customer feedback because you think that you know what they'd say, or even why the customers are buying from you. You don't do market research. You won't make sales or revenue goals this year. You enjoy what you do, but you're not passionate about your business. You're presented with a business opportunity, but maybe you're unsure how to evaluate if it's something that you should pursue. You have some idea of what you want in the next 12 months, but you have no plan to achieve those goals. Everything on your to-do list is a priority, and you don't know where your time is best spent. When asked about why you're in business, your answer is profit, or perhaps there's maybe even no real purpose. If any of those apply to you, then if it's one or more, that's a sign that you need to think more strategically. And the first concept is vision. Creating a vision is the most critical piece of being strategic. It is the foundation of everything that you do. A vision is a concise statement of your business's future state. How do you build a strategy if you don't know where you're going and why? If I say that I'm going on a trip, but I'm not able to articulate exactly where I want to go, then how could I possibly strategically determine the best way to get there? I wouldn't even be able to tell you if it would be best to travel by car, train, airplane, boat. It'd be slightly better if I could say that I wanted to go to a beach in a warm location. Then I may end up in some beach fraught with litter, disease, crime, and maybe lots of stinky dead fish. Or I might end up at a decent beach. It may not be ideal, but decent. Well, and that's the same risk that you take when you don't create a vision for where you want to be and why. On the other hand, I'm much more likely to get exactly what I want the more I'm able to clarify my vision. So, for example, I could say that I want to go to disconnect from civilization at a warm crystal blue beach with velvety sand where I can hear the warm breeze gently bustling through the palm trees above the chatter of the tropical macaws from the forest in the distance, where I can feel the ocean mist against my skin and smell a hint of fresh coconut from the salty air. Which vision do you think would be the most effective? Why? There's still a lot missing from that picture that I painted, but doesn't that create a more vivid and different picture? Wouldn't it be easier to think more strategically about getting to that destination? Doesn't it also stir up a lot more emotion? It carries a lot more energy behind it, and it narrows it down a lot better. The same goes for creating a vision for your business. And you also want to capture the feeling or the feelings that it stirs inside, especially if you have employees. It aligns people to what you're doing and why. This becomes the foundation by which you start to make decisions and seize on opportunities. And the other thing is it helps you set the foundation of how your strategic plan is going to go. And by the way, visions aren't just for businesses, and you'd be wise to actually apply this to your life as well. I really want to drive this point home because this is one of the most important things that you can do for your business. So to develop a vision, you can try visualization exercises until it becomes crystal clear. Visualization exercises really work. When I think about visualization, even Tony Robbins does visualization exercises before he goes out on stage. He actually has, he pictures himself on stage, and it helps him create this energy that he is able to bring into that room. But it doesn't just work for creating a vision, it also keeps you connected to your vision. The more connected you are to a clear, exciting, and invigorating vision, the more likely you are to stay motivated and be much more strategic in the decisions you make on a daily basis. Here's a couple thought-provoking things to consider for your business where you can begin the process of developing a vision. Where do you want to fit in within your industry or community? Would you like to be a thought leader, an innovator, trendsetter, maybe a trailblazer, community partner? How is my business contributing to making this world the one I really want to live in? Who are your clients? How many customers do you have? Does your business exist with or without you? What kind of place is it to work? What awards have you won? Your vision can be 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, even maybe 20 years. I don't recommend going too far out at first without developing a vision where the future is closer, because you don't want it to feel too far or too distant, because then it starts to feel overwhelming and maybe even impossible. Visualization exercises will help you connect to how it feels, looks, smells, tastes, and sounds. Vision boards are also a really great tool to keep you and everyone else conscious of the direction you're going and what you're striving towards. I recommend both of those, and I highly recommend enlisting the help of a coach to help you get clear on a vision. They can walk you through the entire process. So here's 2 terrific examples of visions that really changed the world and changed an industry. Martin Luther King Jr.'s vision is well known and something we still strive for today. It's a vision that stirred emotion and created change. Notice how he didn't give us a strategy, but how collectively a nation really came together and started thinking strategically about implementing the change. That's a powerful vision. And I also love what Mary Kay did for the cosmetics industry. I'm using Mary Kay because it's, one of those companies that people know a lot about. Mary Kay Ash was a highly effective vacuum saleswoman who had like territorial restrictions, and she was passed over for a promotion in favor of a man, and then her husband died. This is how her vision of helping women succeed in business without any territorial restrictions and then giving women the ability to raise a family by working hours of their choice began. As a result of that vision, she developed an innovative business model, especially innovative for her time, and changed an entire industry. And she didn't even start this business venture until she was in her mid-40s. It's quite remarkable what a powerful vision will do. And I love both of these examples because each of these visions really took personal hardships, which was their why, and implemented them into their vision to help others. It's what created their passion and what inspired other people. Okay, and the second concept is awareness. By awareness, I mean that you're self-aware, which is internal, and aware of what's going outside of your business that may have an impact on your business, and that's external awareness. This fits into thinking strategically, because you have to be able to strategically respond or act based upon changes in the world, industry, or the environment. So for example, you may have noticed that there's an increase of sparkling water or seltzer in the supermarkets and convenience stores these days. Both Coke and Pepsi have adapted to a recent negative worldview of pop or diet sodas by creating new carbonated products free of calories, sugar, and sugar substitutes. If you don't have the external awareness of the changing world views, then you find yourself being in reactive mode versus a proactive, strategic approach to change. By having a general sense of what people are excited or fearful about, you are able to anticipate their needs. What emerging trends can your business capitalize on? How is the industry changing, and how does that affect your business? What's driving people? What problems are they trying to solve, and how can you help? What about pending regulations? How will that change how you do business? While I was in the banking industry, we were hit with the housing crisis, and lots of regulation followed. The regulations ultimately changed how we did business and drastically shrunk our revenue margins. So we had to really think strategically about that. Unfortunately, we were more reactive than proactive to that. We didn't see it coming, as a lot of people didn't see it coming, which is why it was such a huge crisis. And then also, how is technology changing the industry or the need for your services or products? Is there an opportunity there? What about economic environment that changes the way people spend or invest money? Do you have a product or service that depends on discretionary income? Self-awareness is just as important as thinking strategically too. By self-awareness, I'm referring to information about yourself and about your business. Questions like, what do you do better than anybody else, and can it be duplicated? Who are your ideal clients? What are you most criticized for? Why do your customers go to your business for products or services instead of somebody else? What's your current reputation? Does it need to change? What drives you? What motivates you? Also, what are your top values for your business? How about in life? What business are you really in? These are all questions that you need answers to in order to mindfully make business decisions that are fully aligned with your vision and how you wish to conduct business. And if you decide that you want employees or currently have employees, it also helps to get clear on the type of people that you would want to recruit. Going back to answering the question of what business are you really in, I think of Ray Kroc when he first gets involved with McDonald's. He's with his accountant, he's venting his frustration about earning only a few cents on every hamburger sold and not being profitable. Then his accountant says to him, Ray, you're not in the hamburger business. You're in the real estate business. And that changed everything once he realized what business he was really in. And that's one great example of how awareness can change your entire strategic approach. Finally, question and challenge all assumptions. You just don't know what you don't know. You'd be surprised at how much you think you know, but really how little you really do know. I find this with my clients all the time, and they actually find great opportunities when they do when they do challenge their assumptions. And mostly because they don't think what they think was impossible really starts to become a possibility for them. And they also find they make assumptions. Like the most successful salespeople don't make assumptions about what a person wants, needs, or can afford. They get curious enough to ask questions and refrain from making any assumptions. And this is true for business strategy as well. So when you think that you know something, but you don't have data or you don't have facts to back it up, it might be worth challenging that. So the third concept with strategic thinking is to analyze. So what good is data if you don't analyze it? You have to be able to analyze your data to be able to make strategic decisions on a daily basis. You can consider anything as data. For instance, at the end of the day, you can ask yourself what worked well, what didn't work well, and what needs to change. Then record all of your thoughts on paper and review these things periodically. You also want to look for root causes, and you can do this by asking 5 whys. Here's a hypothetical scenario to demonstrate the 5 whys. So if I said, I was late to my client meeting today, and as a result, they decided to go to somebody else. Why? Because I had to wait for a retail product delivery, and they were late. Why? Because I had to order a special rush delivery. Why? Because I was completely sold out. Why? Because I didn't order enough in my last delivery. Why? Because the inventory records weren't updated. So the root cause is really because I was disorganized with my inventory records. And when you get down to the root cause, you start to reveal patterns, which is why it's important to write these things down. You don't need to, it's when a challenge comes up that really has impact, that's when you really want to get down to the crux of it and get down to that root cause. Again, the 5 whys. So when you're recording and finding root causes, you'll easily start to record or recognize these patterns and that you probably wouldn't have otherwise seen. This is a strategic approach to improving processes, business practices, and repeating what does work well. Finally, you must know how you're measuring success. With this one, I'll use the analogy of losing weight. Let's say your goal is to lose 50 pounds in 6 months. It's easy to see it's easy to know when you've been successful, because when you've lost the 50 pounds at the end of the 6 months, and so that's how you're measuring your overall success. However, you don't want to find out a week before that you're not on target and now you don't have time to lose that weight and make it successful. You'd want to chunk it down by determining that you need to lose approximately 8.5 pounds each month and then about 2 pounds each week. Then each week you measure your success. If you lost 2 pounds in that week, then you're on target. If you don't, then you have to make that up by adjusting your weekly goal over the course of the remaining months or weeks of that 6-month period. When you see that you're consistently missing your target, then something has to change. In your business, you'll similarly want to know how you're measuring success so you can strategically determine what's working and what's not working. And there are many ways to measure success, and a lot of this will be determined with strategic planning, but we'll get to that shortly. You can measure sales, profits, cost of goods sold, ROI, cost per customer, sales per customer, capital ratios, number of products sold per customer, sales per employee, dollar sales per customer. I mean, the list goes on and on and on about how you can measure success. But one note of caution here is that you want to link your performance indicators, and that's what I call these success measurements, is performance indicators. You want to link them to your key objectives and not get caught up in the paralysis by analysis. You don't want to have data just for the sake of having data. So now we're going to talk about strategic planning. Where you're going doesn't really matter unless you have a plan to get there. And that's the function of a strategic plan. The difference between thinking strategically and strategic planning is that strategic thinking is an ongoing set of principles and practices that become habit in a natural way of thinking about your business. And it's also an organized decision-making process that ensures sustainable success and the life of your business. Strategic planning is an annual management tool and activity. And I love analogies, so I'm going to give you one more. If you want to live a long, healthy life, you employ healthy practices like regular exercise, eating healthy foods, and proper food proportions, maintaining proper sleeping habits, maintaining a healthy weight, keeping stress levels down, etc. If you're overall good health, it's likely that it has become natural for you to view challenges and opportunities from a variety of perspectives and at different levels in order to employ these best practices, direction, decisions, and solutions that supports sustainable health and longevity. Likewise, thinking strategically about your business is about a decision-making process that ensures sustainable success and longevity of your business. The strategic plan bolsters your strategic thinking and is an activity that provides a roadmap that outlines the path to achieve your vision, outlines the resources that you need and how you'll allocate those resources. You determine your priorities and goals and how you're going to measure overall progress. It also keeps your business relevant. You'll determine whether something needs to happen before each step and then whether it's internal or external. With strategic planning, you'll also assess your strategic positioning, financial and operational performance, determine what type of growth strategy you want to pursue, whether it's market share, market penetration, product expansion, market expansion, maybe it's diversification, maybe it's acquisition, or maybe profit growth. So, or whether you even want new growth or organic growth. Strategic planning is for every size business. And if you have employees, it should be a collaborative event with your top management people. By involving your team, you gain buy-in and team alignment because they'll feel a sense of ownership when they know that they have some impact on decisions being made, and they also feel valued when they're allowed to bring ideas to the table. And you'll be surprised at the bright ideas that actually do come up when you make it more of a collaborative effort too. Your strategic plan shouldn't necessarily be written in stone. It should be considered a living, breathing document. It should be agile as you assess and analyze the effectiveness of your plan. What you need to stay committed to, though, is your vision. I strongly recommend getting a facilitator that can help facilitate the strategic planning process with your team. Or if you're a solopreneur, you can get a business coach that kind of helps you get a plan down on paper. Even if only for this purpose, by doing this, you'll be surprised at just, again, how the ideas really start to flow and the creativity starts to come alive, and you really start thinking about new ideas for your business. The other thing with strategic planning is to put it on the calendar each year. Schedule time for the planning. Many business owners take time out for like a retreat to clear the minds and to get away from their desk to help them be more creative. Although a retreat isn't necessarily, it's not necessary, but it does kind of help you clear your mind, getting away from the day-to-day operations. Oh, the prioritization is the fifth concept in a practice of strategic thinking. So not all of your challenges can be solved at the same time or immediately, which is why you need to prioritize. Not everything is going to make the list. Prioritization is about making daily decisions that are the most effective and impactful to your overall vision and mission. Success doesn't happen overnight, but the good news is that neither does failure. Success and sustainability is a culmination and pattern of smart, small daily decisions. On the other hand, failure is typically a pattern and culmination of bad decisions. Just like you don't gain or lose 50 pounds overnight, it's the daily choices that leads up to that. The more frequently you make small, smart decisions, the more you'll see greater results. When you make prioritization a daily habit, you're making priority decisions about the allocation of resources, including time, money, and people. And not all priorities are created equal. It can be challenging to strike the right balance of what's important and what each priority will deliver for the business. The right balance is a combination of two critical factors. The first is the pace and sequence of priorities, and the second is knowing how to balance the near-term and the long-term priorities. So here's what you do. Take a step back and take a hard look at your priorities to understand what purpose each one serves. Think about creating a healthy balance of priorities across three buckets. One is run your business better today, build capability for tomorrow's business, or the third is to growth bets for the future. So when it comes to busy work that you feel has to be done, first assess what happens if it doesn't get done. If it's something that truly has to be done, then conduct a cost-benefit analysis. What's it costing you to not be doing the work that's moving your business forward? What's the cost to getting help? Then determine which is the most costly and make your decision that way. As small business owners, we typically say that we don't have the money to hire help. But what is that really costing you? I've seen so many business owners that find a way to hire someone when they thought they couldn't afford it, and the benefit more than paid off because they were able to generate even more business with the extra time that they had, and it more than paid for that person that they hired. And the same thing goes with investments of money. You know, you get a higher return of income when you put your money to work. So you might be wondering where do you start? Because strategic thinking, like I said, it's not just a process that you go through. It's really a culmination of practices and habits so that it becomes more natural to be thinking strategically. Doing an annual strategic plan isn't really going to help you because then the execution, it's mostly not executed. It's executed poorly if you're not in a practice or in the habit of thinking strategically. So where do you start? And I would say that you choose one of I just gave you 5 practices or habits to think more strategically about your business. So I would choose one of these practices that you'd like to start working on. And I think that vision or the awareness is a good place to start. The vision is because it outlines where you want to go. And then naturally, when you know exactly where you want to go, you'll start to naturally develop a plan that gets you there. Or the awareness, because the awareness, being more aware, will start to illuminate some of the challenges and maybe even opportunities that you're currently experiencing in your business. And I think those two are a great place to start. And then also begin by listing some current challenges that you're facing and establishing a strategy to overcome those challenges. That'll start helping you, developing a plan, thinking more strategically about it, then helping you to prioritize. And it also gives you something to work towards, which isn't, it's not necessarily the vision I'm talking about, but it's something that really does move you forward. Another thing that you can do is to invest in coaching. A couple of weeks ago, I was having a conversation with a young man. He was, late 20s, and listening to him, he had all these aspirations about, what he wanted to do, types of businesses he wanted to start, and he was really, he sounded so ambitious and so motivated, and it also sounded like, wow, this guy really has a lot of potential here. And so I asked him, have you ever thought about coaching? And not because I was trying to sell him coaching services, but because, when you have those kinds of aspirations, that's when you really should, getting a coach helps you be a lot more focused and propels you forward a lot more. So he says to me that, well, no, because I'm in a good place right now. And I just thought, well, that's exactly why you should get coaching. Could you imagine where our professional uh, athletes would be today, like in the NFL or the NBA, if they thought, no, I'm already a pro, I don't need coaching? And a lot of the most successful people, like Oprah Winfrey, she uses several coaches. She uses health coaches. She uses business coaches. She uses a number of different coaches. Von Miller of the Denver Broncos, he went to coaching when he kept finding himself, not really moving forward, getting into trouble and things. He went and hired a coach. Metallica, the band Metallica, going back old school now, that their band was having heated feuds, and so they got a coach to come in and help them with team coaching. Tony Robbins, even as the guru that he is, he has coaches that help him, and he actually gets coached before he goes out on stage. I mentioned that earlier, that he has a whole process or routine before he goes out on stage, and one of those is that he is actually getting coached. Another thing that you can do is that you can start understanding what is impacting your own performance and possibly sabotaging your success so that you can enable powerful change. Because of Alan's I Take the Lead group, I'm offering up a service that will help you understand what is impacting your own performance and maybe sabotaging you. And it consists of an online confidential questionnaire in which you'll be given a detailed report. And then with that, I'll throw in an 1.5 to 2 hour coaching session. This normally goes for $325, but with this webinar, all you have to do is mention that you watched the webinar, and I'll offer it to you for only $99. Because it's an assessment, and I only have a few tokens, I can offer it for a short period of time up to the end of April. So if you're interested in that, you can text me, email me, call me. I have my phone number and my email address at the bottom. And another thing is I work with small business owners, solopreneurs, and executives to be more strategic in business and in leadership so that they can maximize their performance, they can boost their productivity, and increase their profits. My clients report having improved decision-making. They feel more aligned with their vision, their values, and their mission. They have an increased awareness where their new perspectives have created new opportunities. They feel more confident, and they enjoy having an accountability partner and a partner that helps them create forward movement that enhances their business value. And if this is something that you'd like to learn more about, then let's connect for a conversation. And again, just to schedule with me, all you have to do is text me, email me, or contact me by phone, and we'll set something up. Alan, is there something that you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, you were kind of touching on it a little while ago. From my experience, coaching, the most effective part of coaching is that it really helps you get out of your own way. You don't realize, you kind of touched on those blockages and everything, but you really don't realize how severe those blockages can be if you're sitting in the driver's seat, of your own business, looking at it and, okay, what do I need to do? And having a coach, really ask those imperative questions really makes all the difference in the world. And it really, like I said, it really helps you get out of your own way.
Yeah, you're right. You're so right, Alan. It really does. I mean, and I'm a person too that, invested, a good chunk of money into coaching, and it has helped me in so many ways. I remember when I first decided to go out on my own, even though I had an entrepreneurial spirit, I really didn't know what the next step was for me. But through coaching, it kind of helped devise a clear path of where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do and how I wanted to help people. I knew that I wanted to contribute in some way. I just didn't know how. And coaching really helped me do that. And, even with business, on the business side with coaching, it's kind of helped me get a lot more clear in my messaging and what type of coaching and the type of people that I want to help and work with. So yeah, you're so right. And there've been so many times where, I've just felt like so fearful, where, you have that inner critic that tells you, like, who are you to be, coaching people, or who are you to be, doing a webinar, or, and coaching really has helped with that a whole lot, because we all have that inner critic that tells us that we're not smart enough, that we're not good enough, that we're just not pretty enough, we're not enough, whatever it might be. We all have that inner critic, and it really does help, and it does help you become a lot more confident.
I like that.
So in summary, we've talked about that sustainable success and longevity of your business requires that you make a habit of thinking strategically about your business. We talked about creating a vivid and exciting vision that determines where you're going and why, which serves as the foundation of your overall strategic plan. Then we discussed how to maintain awareness of internal and external conditions and to question and challenge assumptions. Then how to analyze performance by asking what worked well, what didn't work well, and what needs to change daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annually. Use that data to measure success. Not just that data, but use data to measure success. Then schedule your planning sessions so that you have a roadmap of how to achieve your vision. And then finally, make smart decisions and prioritize your actions, and prioritize your use of resources that will bring a high return and positive impact to your business. Again, strategic thinking is the best way to achieve sustainable success and longevity of your business. And with that, I'm going to conclude the webinar, and I really appreciate the time. I really hope that you take one or two actions again to start thinking more strategically about your business. We've got to change those statistics that we talked about earlier in the webinar.
Well done. Yeah, very good. Can you do me a favor? You had a slide, I think it was the second or third slide early on where you had the list. It was just after your agenda. Let's see. That one. You aren't able to articulate that. I personally kind of struggled with that one as well. You aren't able to articulate where your business will be in 1 year, let alone 3 years. Where would you recommend somebody starts with that?
That is more of like a vision thing.
Okay.
You have to be able to just sit down and start with those questions, those thought-provoking questions that we talked about in creating a vision. Things like, what does your business look like? Where do you want to fit in within your industry? In what way do you want to contribute to, or here's a question, like, how is my business contributing to making the world the one I really want to live in? Who are your clients? How many customers do you have? What awards have you won? Is there something specific that you're really working towards? So really just get specific and start, the visualization practice. The one thing I would say with that is, again, don't let that inner critic tell you, okay, that's just completely impossible, because that happens all the time. And even if it does feel impossible, then, just think of, let's just see how close I can really get to that.
Very good. Okay. And I like that second to last one too. Everything on your to-do list is a priority and you don't know where your time is best spent. Man, that is a vicious habit to break. I mean, even you and I have talked about time management and strategic time management and everything. And even now, as I, wake up in the morning, work on my planner and map out my day, it is so easy to fall back into bad habits, into old habits, and all right, everything's a priority. Well, if everything's a priority, nothing's a priority. So what do I give priority? That is so such an easy habit to fall back into.
Oh, it is. It's a again, that those daily decisions, and then you have to really be thinking, is this the best use of my time? That's just being more, strategic to it. And at first it's really hard because you even forget to ask yourself, is this the best use of my time? Because a lot of times we just work on autopilot, and that's how we end up working on, so much in our business and not on our business. And so if you just take a step back from that and say, okay, is this the best use of my time? And, again, do that cost benefit analysis.
Absolutely. And for me too, it's, having that one big goal. What is that one big goal? And if you can see over my shoulder here, I've got my whiteboard up on the wall there, and I have my one big goal up there. For the end of the year, need to meet that goal by the end of the year, and then all my action steps will be underneath that here pretty quick. But everything I do, everything that goes on my calendar, everything that goes on my planner, my to-do list, only the priorities that relate in some way to that big goal are treated as priorities. Everything else is secondary. And that's another mindset that it took me a long time, longer than I care to admit, to really adjust to that.
Yeah, and it does. It takes practice. Just, we don't get into bad habits overnight either, but it does take practice. And the more you do something, the more natural it becomes, the more of a habit it becomes. And those things are definitely habits. It's just easier sometimes to, go off on a tangent because it's the first thing that's like right there in front of us because it seems urgent at that moment. Whether it's your telephone ringing or, a text message that comes through, our natural response is just to look at it. And then if there's a request in there, you can easily, say, oh, let me just take care of this right now so I don't have to do it later. So it's really easy to get caught up in those bad habits.
Absolutely. Yeah. So perfect. Well, thank you very much. Can you go to your contact information again? I want to make sure that's up on the screen for the playback as well. That is a very, very generous offer you've extended to everyone. Again, if I definitely encourage, everyone to, try that again. Encourage you to reach out to Stacy. She's made that an incredibly generous offer. Do you want to recap on the offer that you made earlier real quick?
Yeah. So what that is it's a tool that I'm able to offer that helps you to understand what is impacting your own performance and possibly sabotaging your success that you can identify. And when the assessment will help you'll get like a full detailed report, something that is concrete and measurable. And so you'll know exactly what is impacting your performance. Then, through that 1.5 to 2 hour coaching and debriefing session, with that, we can start to identify strategies that you can immediately start working on. But it's just the overall awareness that you don't even know how the things that are impacting your different levels of energy. And that's what it is really measuring your different levels of energy. And you get it's a scientific approach, and it really does give you actual numbers and measurable data that helps you identify that. And again, it usually goes for $350, but I'm offering it for $99 to this group.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's, like you said, that is very, very generous. So thank you very much. Stacy's contact info is on the screen here. Again, I definitely recommend you reach out to her and just have that one-on-one conversation with her about, how you can grow your business, how you can think more strategically about your business. I mean, just that conversation alone can make all the difference in the world. So as we wrap up here, is there anything else you wanted to throw in there too, Stacy?
No, I just wanted to thank you for the opportunity to present here. I'm so passionate about being a lot more strategic, and I think that the world is a much better place with small businesses, and that's really what drives me, is helping small businesses succeed.
Absolutely. And thank you. Yeah, I had a lot of fun. Thank you for coming on here. This was a phenomenal presentation. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Alan.
All right. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye-bye.